What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Rogue Way channel, and this is Casey Pippin, your host. Today, we're going to be talking some more about the Marine Corps, and specifically Marine Corps boot camp. But before we get into that, do me a favor. If you are coming here to check this content out, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, or even if you just want to do me a favor, man, I'd appreciate if you guys would just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. It'd be great if you like the video. It just really helps me out. I don't have but a few subscribers, and I'm trying to build this thing up. So get on the ground floor, man. Help me out. Help me build this thing up. Leave a comment, subscribe, share, tell somebody about the channel, and don't forget to check out all the Rogue Way live podcasts and vlogs and stuff on Facebook, Facebook Live, and all of our other social channels per se. All right, so the last video I made was I know the camera's kind of shaky just because I can't keep my hands off this table, but the last video I made was specifically talking about how I ended up in the Marine Corps. I am a former Marine. Just to let you know, I got out of the Marine Corps. I served 8 years from 1998 to 2006, so it's been a long time ago. But after 8 years, I got out of the Marine Corps, honorable discharge as a staff sergeant. Just chose not to stay in. Went and did private security and contracting overseas. We'll talk about that on another episode too. But I got out of the Marine Corps as a staff sergeant. I served 8 years. I was in the 03 field, which is the infantry field, and so that's my background. So so you're not listening to some guy who got kicked out of the Marine Corps telling you a bunch of crap or whatever. That's not the case here. So anyway, enough rambling. So last episode, I talked about my experience in getting into the Marine Corps and how I ended up there. And I got a lot of questions on boot camp. I didn't go in depth, and I'm still going to go in depth on a different episode as far as going through boot camp and what it is and my specific experience going all the way through it, and much more detail than last video. But today I just want to do a quick video on some things to expect if you go to Marine Corps boot camp. I think that preparation for boot camp is a big concern for guys that are going in. The Marine Corps does offer an excellent preparation course, I guess you could say, for those who just enlisted while you are waiting to ship. But there are some of us, like myself, who were direct shippers, and which means I didn't go to any type of pre-training for Marine Corps boot camp. I just went straight in. Now, luckily for me, I had some experience in basic training because I was coming from having went through Army basic training. Just a few years before that, I was in the National Guard, and I went to regular Army basic training, which all guardsmen do, if you don't know that. And so I had some preparation in some sense, but Marine Corps boot camp and Army basic training are dramatically different, both in focus and in method. So, and again, I'll get to that later. But today, I just wanted to give you, just a few things, no more than 10, that you can expect if you're about to go to Marine Corps recruit training. And these are some things to think about when you're preparing, physically and mentally. The first thing that you're going to need to understand, or you're going to expect, is a complete culture shock. This isn't even on my list, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this in at the beginning as kind of an intro. Most young people these days, and in a degree everyone before them, but I think there's a dramatic difference. It's gotten even more relevant. There is a entitlement and dependency on everything around them, which means that you guys are more dependent on technology. You need your information now. You're getting tons of information from things like this and your phones and being able to text. So there's an attachment to having the type of communication that you expect from your friends, from your family, and having it pretty fast. You can always check in on Facebook. There is an unparalleled access to everyone else's lives around you, okay, especially your family and friends. And if you think that that's not a problem for you, then put your phone down for a few days and just don't talk to anyone except for your family or those around you, and see how that feels. Because I can assure you, one of the first things, the shocks you're going to experience there after the culture shock of the, I guess you say, the personality of boot camp kind of subsides, is going to be the fact that you have limited contact. All right, but that's the next one. Let me step back. The first thing you're going to have is an absolute culture shock as far as how you're being treated. A lot of you are coming from a place in society where you are expected to get a certain amount of respect and a certain amount of courtesy, even if you haven't earned any respect. You just feel that society has taught you that you're special, and that society and people around you are supposed to be nice to you. Even if they are giving you bad news or disappointed or showing you disapproval, they're supposed to do it in a very courteous way or a nice way to consider your feelings, to not trigger you. Marine Corps boot camp is the complete other end of that spectrum. Not only are you're not just going to get disapproval in a shockingly aggressive way, you're going to get approval in the same. There's going to be almost no difference. It's going to be difficult to tell when your drill instructors are pleased or when they're disappointed. They may reward you with a couple words and then put you back in check with some physical activity to ensure you don't let it go to your head. So initially, when you step off of the bus onto the yellow footprints, and that's where you're going to go first, the yellow footprints. That is where you are going to learn the first lesson of Marine Corps boot camp, and that is you are no longer in control. And your expectations of people around you are no longer relevant. You are in a completely different world. This is an entry-level transitionary training. This is not elite training. This is not, this is the first step. And the first step is to completely take away your sense of self as you know it. So you are not in control. You don't have your crew with you. There's no one to back you up. All that tough talk that you had, it's gone now, because essentially you're by yourself. And everyone around you is also by themselves. And they don't care about you at this point. They only care about their own fears. When some stranger, this ripped up, picture out of a film, this just unbelievably physically perfect specimen walks in front of them and is yelling at them as if he hates them and he doesn't even know them. That's going to be a shock for some of you. Now, there are others who have grown up in families and situations to where you're inoculated to that type of personality for various reasons, and that's not going to affect you as much. But there will be other things in boot camp that do. There's always something that's going to affect you. So that's your first. The next one I would talk to you about is what I kind of alluded to a minute ago, is there's no tech and there's no contact, or very limited contact. You might find this surprising to know that your first communications with your family are going to be scripted. All right, so you should prepare your family for that in case your recruiters do not. You will be told what to say when you call home for your 2-minute phone call, if it's even that long. I'm not even sure how long it is. But this is still going on. I was hesitant to make this video before because it's been so long since I went through boot camp, and I've been out for so long that I thought, well, none of that is relevant anymore. But as I talk to people who are experiencing this now, families and of recruits, I realize that there's some things that just don't change. So I would tell you to prepare for that by spending time off of your tech, out of your social networks, and limiting your time with your friends, with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Just getting used to the idea that you're not going to talk to anybody for a long time when you get there. You'll send a letter home that'll tell everyone that you're okay and that your drill instructors are taking very good care of you. And then you will not speak to them again until the drill instructors and the training policy tell you that allow you to do so. And even then, it's going to be a very scripted phone call, and it's going to be for a very short amount of time. So you're not going to be texting, giving updates and posting on Instagram and showing everybody how well you're doing. It is not a social vacation. It's the complete opposite. You're going to be stripped away of everything back home, and you're going to focus on the here and now and those people that are around you, which segues to my next one. No privacy or individual time. Now, there will be individual time in a sense, but not probably what you're expecting. There's almost zero privacy, and that includes going to the toilet and hygiene time. I don't know how it's done these days, but when I was a recruit in San Diego in 1998, for the first, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, whatever it was, drill instructors were standing there in the showers and telling you how to clean yourselves. And while that seems crazy to some of you, it's not as crazy as you think. There are people from different cultures. You don't know what someone's background is. You don't know their practices, their hygiene. And just like if you were in any closed environment, like a ship, all right, which is the Marine Corps is part of the Department of the Navy, separate branch, but you will find yourself on ships if you were, especially if you're in the combat arms. There are reasons for this. You have to keep a clean ship. You have to stay, your hygiene has to be perfect. The cleaning of the rooms you're in has to be perfect, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in these facilities in close proximity to other people. And sickness can get prevalent. You're talking about COVID-19. I can only imagine how bad it would have spread on those aircraft carriers in the news and other environments, military training, had there not been immense cleaning and hygiene. So that's going to be something that's dictated to you from day one. It's going to be very blatant, and it's going to be in your face. I don't know if they're still doing it the way I did it, but I can assure you whatever they are doing, they're going to ensure that you have close supervision to make sure that you're cleaning yourselves. To give you an example, even brushing your teeth, it was by cadence. All right, brush your right side of your mouth right now. Brush the front of your teeth right now. Brush, it was just like that. There is no privacy. You won't have privacy. There's not going to be like an evening time. I know in Army basic training I had this, although I went to probably an easier basic training than the infantry soldiers do. In the Army, they have a separate thing. I mentioned that in the last video. But, you're not going to have any privacy. Everything you do is going to be done with your squad, with your platoon, and everyone's going to see everything you do. You're always it's very tribal. You're always in that group. So, on Sundays you may have a few hours, but even that's not going to be private time. It's going to be personal time. Write letters, do laundry, different things like that for a few hours, go to church, mass, or whatever. But it's only going to be in the morning, and then after, then you'll go to noon, your noon meal or chow, and after that, training will start, if not before. And so essentially, no privacy, and this is 7 days a week for the entire time that you're there. So if you're going and expecting weekends off, or expecting some personal time to text and, social media and chat, Snapchat and Instagram and all that, it's not going to happen. Hopefully your recruiters are telling you that, because that's the way it's going to be. The next thing, verbal and physical stress. This might seem like all-out assault or abuse to you. You're going to be yelled at the entire time. And it's not just yelling in the sense that if you watch, it was always interesting to me when I watched Full Metal Jacket, because everyone says that's such a realistic version of how the Marine Corps drill instructors talk to you. No, it's worse than that. Go on YouTube and watch some Marine Corps boot camp videos and see the screaming. It's almost inhuman the way it's done. Now, it's not like that all the time, and yes, there are times during instructional periods where the drill instructors are yelling at you in a clearer, more articulate way, but it's always there. You're always one step away from getting it turned up, all the way up. So if you're not used to being yelled at, if you think people are mean when they talk bluntly to you, you might want some coaching on that. You might want to go to some type of, I don't know what to tell you, but just get ready to be verbally and physically stressed all the time. And that includes what we call, Well, I forgot, it's been so long I forgot the phrases. I'm not thinking of them right now, but just consider it physical motivation. And that means that they will thrash you until you get your shit together, relatively, is what I'm trying to say. The next thing that may be shocking to you is the lack of empathy or sympathy from everyone there. And I'm not talking about the drill instructors. You're going to expect that at a certain point. I'm more or less speaking of the support staff. For instance, you will go to medical and you'll go to dental, especially during your first week when you're forming up, when you're doing all your reception stuff. You're doing checks on you, paperwork, medical, dental, all the things it takes to make sure that you're ready to go to your training platoon and start the rigorous events that you'll be starting. So there will be a week, or I don't know how long it is. It depends. But there will be a period of time when you get there before you start training where you'll be in what we call reception or receiving. And sometimes my terms get mixed up between Army Basic and Marine Basic because I went through them both so long ago. My memory kind of floats back and forth. But in receiving, you will go to medical and dental. And when you go there you might suspect, okay, the drill instructors are gone. Now I'm here with this medic, or what we call a corpsman. He's going to be nice to me. Don't expect that. He's not going to be nice to you. I mean, I guess he might be nice to you, but most of them are going to treat you as a recruit. Remember, this is the Navy, okay, that handles the medical and dental. Marine Corps doesn't have a medical and dental. So you'll be going to the Navy, and they're not Marines, but they also have recruit training. So they are also completely familiar with the concept of a recruit and how you should be treated. Maybe not by the instructor because they're not an instructor, but how you should be treated by staff. So don't expect to go there and get away from your drill instructor and go to medical or dental and give a sob story and expect them to just lay over and cry and bill you and all that. I'm not saying it won't happen, but your initial experience probably won't be the case. If you get hurt later and you go to medical rehabilitation or something, then yeah, they might be more sympathetic at that point. But when you're in a training platoon, they're going to treat you like one notch lower, better than the drill instructors themselves. Physical side, expect weight loss. All right, it's just common sense. Your calorie intake is not going to match your calorie burn per se, and that's not that you're going to be running and doing a tremendous amount of physical training all the time. The concept that you're always doing, always running an obstacle course or stuff like that, it's not really the case. But just the fact of you marching so much, when you're learning how to march, the fact that you're walking and marching everywhere, that you are doing PT once or twice a day or even more, that in the middle of that time you're being given physical motivation to get your stuff right. So there's always training, but there's always just constant movement. There's not going to be if hardly at any time during Marine Corps boot camp when you're going to be static or you're going to be just sitting around. It's just not going to happen. And then when you get towards the end of it and you start going to your field training and your go through the crucible, that's going to be a massive weight dump just in a few days because of the lack of food and the amount of calorie burn that you're going to experience during those long evolutions. So expect weight loss. And unfortunately, you're going to experience weight loss even when you probably don't need weight loss. Some of you may go to boot camp pretty thin. And they may put you on a program of double rations where you actually eat more and double what you would normally eat, and you notice that you're still the same weight or you still lose weight even there, and that can be a shock to your body and to your mind, but it's just the way it is. Can you gain weight during boot camp? I don't know. I don't remember anyone gaining weight during boot camp. I know during basic combat training in the Army basic training, I gained weight, gained 20 pounds. I went from like 160 to 180 of muscle. But in the Marine Corps boot camp, I just don't think that the calorie difference is going to allow that. But, let me know. If you did, I'd love to hear it in the comments. You are going to experience gains, though. Maybe not in muscle mass so much. but in performance. You're going to, if you're not a runner, you've never ran a lick in your life, you're going to leave there running 3 miles in a pretty fast pace, especially compared to civilians. Maybe not in a fast pace. You may not leave there with an 18-minute 3 mile or sub 18-minute 3 mile like you will see some in the Marine Corps running. But you will leave there running 3 miles and, somewhere in the early 20s probably, enough to definitely pass the final physical fitness test. So you're going to experience gains. You're going to become stronger. Your pull-ups, your back strength. I would say that if you gain muscles anywhere, it's probably mostly going to be in your legs and in your back from doing pull-ups and doing a tremendous amount of footwork, marching, running, things like that. That being said, you have to be careful, and I would tell you to prepare for, the running and the walking and the marching, because trust me, from someone who knows and went out for 2 months with stress fractures. If you're not physically active, then the most important thing I would tell you to do, besides working on your pull-ups and doing what your recruiter is probably telling you to do, is conditioning your legs for the running and marching, preparing them. So start hiking and start jogging. Even if it's not 3 miles or for time, just start getting your legs prepared, doing the stretching. Look up videos on how to prepare your legs to try to prevent that result. Okay, so you are going to get gains in endurance. On the mental side, you are going to experience, as the old you slowly dies, the you that craves attention, the you that craves individual approval, that requires constant contact with others outside of your situation. As that dies and fades away, you're going to experience a new sense of relevance that's built around the team, around the tribe, around the pack, around your real crew now, if you want to say that. And you're going to lose interest in yourself, and your identity and your pride is going to be based on how well you contribute to that team's performance and to that mission success. All right, and that is what it is essentially all about: preparing you to insert yourself into something greater than yourself, a unit that depends on you to not be the weakest link, okay, but to be the greatest asset. And that will possibly propel you to desire to be even more, and to go on and to more elite programs within the Marine Corps than even just the basis of being a Marine itself. They're out there. But you will develop a relevance, a sense of pride, and team orientated thought and action. And if you don't, then you may make it through boot camp somehow, sheer numbers, blending in, disappearing, but you won't make it in the Marine Corps. And I will say this: Marine Corps boot camp is not the Marine Corps. Understand that. You can slip through boot camp, you can slip through infantry training or MCT or whatever your school is, but you can't hide that forever. And if this is who you are and you don't change, it's going to surface in the Fleet Marine Force, and you will have a very, very rough experience if you make it at all, because you can hide from instructors, but you can't hide from your peers. And that being said, should you not be one of those who don't experience that, should you be one of the majority that do experience that new sense of relevance, you will see, and especially your family will see, a complete and total transformation. Most of the time, there are exceptions. There are those who were born Marines, and it seems like they just, the Marine Corps boot camp is a check in a box on their way to be who they already are. But for most people, it's a transformation. It's a complete transformation, and it will be visible. And those around you, when you go home, they'll see it, they'll hear it. You'll just be a completely different person. The sense of confidence that you got will probably never go away. If you're successful in the Marine Corps, you will carry. There's certain things that won't change about you, but you will most of the time inherent confidence in yourself that will always be apparent, especially to those who see you in the public. The way you carry yourself, the confidence you have, the pride you have, and just the individual courage and backbone that you have, you're going to see that that's less and less common out of the service and out of organizations like the Marine Corps or other elite fighting units. So those are some things that I would tell you to expect from Marine Corps boot camp. There's a lot of stuff that changes over time, but I don't believe those things are those that change. They should be something that every recruit will experience if they successfully complete Marine Corps recruit training. So if you've enjoyed this content, I'd appreciate it if you would just like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps us grow. And I appreciate you guys checking in. And don't forget to check out the Rogue Way podcast and Facebook Live episodes. You can find me at KC Pippin and also the Rogue Way podcast Facebook page. So until next time, I'll see you guys soon.